So here's the question. Did Mafia just reinvent itself by taking us back to the roots of the mob in Sicily? Or is this just the same old crime drama in a shiny new coat? That's what I wanted to find out when I jumped into Mafia: The Old Country. Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. And before we dive in, I would like to know, what do you think? Do you prefer your Mafia games as a huge open world, like Mafia 3 offers? Or do you prefer this new game with a more focused, story-driven ride? And the first thing I like to talk about is the setting and how it's changed. It hits you right away. Instead of Empire Bay or New Bordeaux, The Old Country takes us to the early 1900s Sicily. Picture dusty cobblestone villages, olive groves rolling down the hills, and candlelit church processions in town squares. For me, it felt like a massive shift from the bustling American cities that we saw in Mafia 1, 2 and 3. And the way I see it, this is a massive shift from the bustling American cities we saw in Mafia 1, 2 and 3, because it's way slower, it's quieter, and honestly, it felt more authentic. And one thing to emphasize this Sicilian vibe is that there is a full Sicilian voice track. I switched it on for a few hours, and let me tell you, hearing a mob boss spit out threats in Sicilian hits completely differently compared to the usual English voice acting. I remember playing Mafia 2, which also really nailed that 1940s American vibe with diners and jazz, or Mafia 3, which hit us with New Orleans soul and Vietnam flashbacks. But The Old Country, let me tell you, it feels ripped straight from The Godfather. And for me, that's where this game absolutely shines. The atmosphere is where this game really excels. And one of the strong features of the previous Mafia games is its story. And in this one, it takes a sharp turn away from modern open world design. So you can forget about side hustles and collectible icons cluttering your map. This is a linear mission to mission experience. And although this is different than from the older Mafia games, it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. In fact, it works really well. When you finish a shootout, you're immediately dropped into a tense dinner with the family, complete a betrayal, and you rush straight into the fallout. So for me, it felt really tight, really focused, and it flows like a 10-hour mob movie. When I played Mafia 3, I felt that sometimes the repetitive side jobs kept on going, and The Old Country delivers exactly the opposite. It keeps you on rails, so it's more like Mafia's 1 remake, but even leaner. That's great for the pacing, but it also makes the world feel more like a movie set than a living place. And in all honesty, sometimes I love that focus because there's no wasted time, no fluff. But sometimes I also had the feeling that I really wished I would be able to just step off the path and explore a bit for myself, like I was used to doing in Mafia 1 or Mafia 2. Alright, let's talk a bit about the new gameplay. And the first thing that for me stood out are the cinematic knife duels. And at first, that's a really great thing to experience. You have that atmosphere which is building up, there's a lot of tension because you have to wait for that perfect opening. It really felt like a proper mob showdown. But in all honesty, after the third or fourth duel, the magic kind of stopped working for me. Compared to Mafia's 3 brutal melee finishes, which stayed snappy, these duels in The Old Country, they drag out too much and it feels a bit like a quick time event instead of a real fight. And then we have another new addition, which are the horseback chases. And that sounds pretty cool, galloping after enemies through olive groves, gunfire cracking behind you. And yeah, again, the first time it's epic. But the controls, they feel stiff, and in all honesty, I miss the cars. One of the joys of the other Mafia games was just cruising around in those vehicles throughout the city. And here the horses feel more like a novelty than an actual solid system. And of course, given the fact this game takes place in the early 1900s, there aren't that many cars around, so yeah, that makes sense. But I'm happy to report there are some early race cars available in the game. And the ones the game does offer, they are pretty intense, and it really took me back to Mafia's 1 infamous race mission. But where that was quite tough, your old country's races are way easier. They are, it felt like me, scripted so you can't even lose. And that unfortunately took away the tension and the thrill. And what this game absolutely nails is its presentation. It's built in the Unreal Engine 5, and this is hands down the best looking Mafia to date. And that's quite an achievement because your old ones, they look really cool as well. As I said before, this game looks like a movie. You have these sunsets spilling over coastal cliffs, the glow of lamplight on wet cobblestones, and you have the characters, which look fantastic. But because it looks great, it also comes with a price. I felt the performance on my PC sometimes was rough. I ran into stutters and long load times. Even on my PC, which should be able to run this game without any issues. And although the old country looks great, when those frame drops hit you mid-scene, it felt like the immersion just snapped. Let's talk a bit about how long it takes to complete this game. Lengthwise, this game is about 10 to 13 hours. You can finish it over a weekend. And honestly, in this case, I liked it. Mafia 1 and 2 were about the same length and they felt complete. And for this game, I had the same feeling. Your old country is short, it's sharp and it's focused. And that works well because this game is so cinematic and scripted, so I didn't feel like I missed out on anything. But I do feel that the game runs out of tricks towards the end. The last stretch leans too heavily on knife duels instead of pulling out new surprises. And currently standing at the price at €50 or $50, some of the people might feel the length doesn't justify the price tag. I can imagine that a lot of people are satisfied playing the main storyline, which has a real good ending, so it feels finished. But the lack of free roam could be a concern to people who like to explore more of this world. Sure, you can wander around on the markets, watch villagers argue in Sicilian, and maybe follow a street band around through town. But all this, although it looks gorgeous, is hollow. I think it would have been great if we had a free ride mode like we had in Mafia 1. So, having talked about the main things this game has to offer, this begs the question, where does this all leave us? If I had to compare the old country, then it feels closest to Mafia 1, looking at its length and its focus. It also uses some features of the Mafia's 2 cinematic flair, but it's very different compared to Mafia 3. Mafia 3, to me, it felt sprawling, experimental and a bit messy. The old country, on the other hand, feels safe, compact and atmospheric. I do feel that they managed to hit the right spot with this game. If you want the thrill of a big sandbox crime epic, you're not gonna find it here. But if you're craving a playable Mafia movie with all the mood and flavor of Sicily, this one definitely delivers. Okay, that's all from me. Now I would love to hear from you. Should Mafia keep experimenting with these smaller, more cinematic experiences? Or do you think it needs to go back to big American open worlds? Please let me know in the comments. And if you like this review, please consider subscribing to my channel for more. Thank you for now and catch you in the next one.